Well, let's get some analysis now from Joe Siracusa in Melbourne, Australia. He's an author and professor of security and diplomacy at Curtin University. Welcome back to the program, Professor. This General Assembly resolution means that if any of the permanent members of the Security Council use their veto power, a General Assembly meeting will be convened where all UN members can scrutinise and comment on the use of their veto power. Do you think this will be successful in pressuring the P5 to reconsider the use of their veto?
No, I don't. I don't think it's going to have really any effect. It's trying to make the permanent members a little more transparent about what they're doing, but they don't really care about that. Look, the Security Council permanent members have been dysfunctional the first day they met. By 1946, it was clear that the UN couldn't do much in the area of collective security without the United States carrying the heavy load there. And we had the entire Cold War for up till 1991, and the Security Council is very good at sanctions. It put heavy sanctions. It agreed to sanctions on Iran and North Korea and the like, unable to prevent slaughter of innocent people in Rwanda, Bosnia, Darfur, complete failure there. And so the permanent security people there reflect the real world, that is the superpowers, the great powers. And so, and one thing you probably don't realize, your viewers don't realize, is the United States has never put much stock in the United Nations. It doesn't like those multilateral organizations where it has to give you anything. Now, most Americans in the 1940s wanted to sign up to what looked like a successor to the League of Nations. Most Americans believe that the failure of the League was the Second World War. They wanted to prevent this scourge next time around. So look, this isn't going to have much use. I'd like to see more permanent veto power there. Maybe India, Brazil, Germany, or something. And they're going to have to expand it a little bit. But right now, I think they're dysfunctional. They're not capable of agreeing, and the U.S. has used it as many times as Russia has, as a matter of fact, in its own way. And look, the United States is very, very attracted to the UN when it agrees to defending Korea in 1950. It enjoyed the UN support when in the first Gulf War, which became sort of a UN war, and some of the occupation later on. But the U.S. Is very, very wary of giving up any of its power there, and it's very wary of getting much cooperation. But it does use it for various propaganda purposes. It tells the whole world, and it's about virtue signaling. If you have a permanent veto, you can do what you want, and then you tell everybody why you did it or you didn't do it. But I like the idea that the other nations in the General Assembly are holding these people accountable. Keep in mind that when the United Nations began, there were 5 permanent members, as five nations had the right to veto, and there were only 51 nations in the UN, one per each 10. And now there are 193 nations, still 5 permanent members that have the right to veto. So now it's about 38 nations per veto. So I think it's in time to expand it. Everybody wants to do something to make the UN a little better. I think it's very successful in economic and social policies, sustainable development, and the like. But in the area of taming the great powers, it has been particularly or singularly unsuccessful. In fact, the UN Security Council, if it's designed to prevent conflict, is really not fit for purpose.
Yes, it will be interesting to see just how this resolution is triggered when the next veto is used by one of the permanent 5. Professor Joe Siracusa, always a pleasure. Thanks again for joining us.